My boyfriend said I'm too ambitious for wanting to chase my dream.
I think you gotta chase down another boy to date now.
I've wanted to be a veterinarian since I, 25 female, was a young girl. As I got older, I gave up on those dreams, but when I turned 23, I decided to give it a go. I went back to school and have since achieved an associate's degree with a 4.0 GPA and have plans to transfer to a university and then go to vet school. Long story short, my dreams don't seem so unattainable anymore. The problem lies with my relationship. By the way, this comes from user FuzzyBat8678, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I am Dakota.
I'm Angie.
I'm Carly.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We're just a couple of goofballs and know about our goofball stuff. So if you know some stuff we don't know, why don't you just tell us in the comments? And OP says, with the way things are going, I won't be done with school until I'm 30 or 31. I've always wanted to get married and have kids before that age, but since I decided to go back to school, I've reconsidered when would be a good age to have kids. My boyfriend, 24 male, wants to get married and start having kids this year. Although I would love to start a family, I'm so torn. Me starting a family with him would require me moving states back to my hometown and taking time off from school. Not only that, my boyfriend told me he wants to be with a woman who wants to be a stay-at-home wife. This is a text that he sent me. Quote, I do not desire to be with a woman who is as ambitious as yourself. It's great for you that you have goals, but I want a big family and a traditional relationship. If I don't decide to change my plans, he and I are going to move on. I also want a big family, and I have no problem with prioritizing my future family when the time comes. However, I just can't reconcile with the fact that he's asking me to give up the dreams I've had since I was a little girl. I love him so much, and I can't imagine my life without him. And so I have been questioning if I'm making the right choice by staying on this path to being a vet. I know it sounds stupid since I'm only 25, but I've been feeling like if I don't do this now, I might not find someone to marry and start a family with. This conversation with my boyfriend is making me question if men just don't want to marry a woman who puts their career first for a while. Maybe I shouldn't think like that, but it's hard not to. On the other hand, I feel like my boyfriend is asking me to give up my dreams so that he can live out his own. So I guess I just need advice. What are your thoughts on changing my plans to pursue my dreams in order to make my boyfriend happy? Is it worth it? Would I be making a mistake if I let this relationship with someone that I love go? And, yeah, there are some comments. I think the consensus will probably be chase your dreams. Because I don't like that. I don't like that it's just like because you could still, you can be like quote unquote traditional without just being a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
And I think that's weird for the vibe to be like, well, no, I have the last say over what you do with your life.
Yeah. I didn't like any of what I just heard, except for the fact that you're an ambitious woman. That's what I like to hear. But everything else, no, bad. I don't like it.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
Really don't like it.
And, things maybe just have to look different for you. Whether that means that you get married a little bit later, but I don't think that should mean that you don't chase your dreams. You're only 25.
Yeah.
You're a quarter of the way through your life and you're going to give up on the rest of your life, what you want to do with the rest of it now? No. We can marry a man later. That text that he sent you, to me, literally just said that he was breaking up with you. He was like, I just don't like how ambitious you are. This isn't right for me. That's what it read as.
I mean, that's basically where they're at. She's like, if I don't change this, we're going to split up.
You should not.
I think you're splitting up.
I think you're splitting up.
I would split.
Never change yourself for a man. Especially when it comes to your career, girl.
Yeah. Yeah. We have some comments from OP. He did say a few other things that were pretty hurtful, like insinuating that my life focus should solely be on becoming a mother. Those kind of comments really made me second guess myself. I guess I just wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt that he didn't mean it the way it sounded. Sounds kind of ridiculous now that I'm typing it. LOL. He's always known for a very long time that I plan to become a vet, but just recently sprang this on me. I appreciate your comments. I think I know that I have to do the hard thing. It's just hard to accept at this moment. Maybe he loves me, but he certainly doesn't like me. Wolf! Yeah, leave this guy! I've really been second-guessing myself, but it's true that the man I'm meant to be with wouldn't look at my passions as a flaw, and try to change me. It's just a sad thing to accept. I can't imagine giving up what I'm passionate about for a man.
That's
A
right.
man
Man.
who would one day find some other thing to pick me apart for and eventually leave me
Period.
on my own. A part of me does want to see it through with him, but it feels like a bigger part of me is screaming at me not to do it. And we have an update from the same day. Thanks for the replies. I read every single one, and the general consensus is that I should not give up my goal of being a vet. A part of me knows that, but I just was second guessing if I was making the right decision. I really love him and have been with him since I was a teenager. If I'm being honest, I left out some information in order to try to keep the responses as non-biased as possible. I'll now be referring to my boyfriend as my ex.
Period.
Yeah. Okay. So, some important information or answers to some comments that I saw. My ex has known for years about my dreams to become a vet and has only just recently sprang this on me that he doesn't want me if I go through with it. It started with me talking about the cost of vet school. He then gave me an ultimatum that if I go to vet school, then he's going to break up with me.
He just can't afford it. He's just like, I want a big wedding. So if you're gonna spend all that money on vet school, I can't have my sparkly suit.
That's
and
so
I can't
funny.
have
Like
my fireworks.
That's what he really wanted was a
That's the
big,
reason.
extravagant wedding.
I can't marry someone that's spending their money on their career.
Babe, this isn't about me being the breadwinner and you having no income and me having control over you for the rest of our lives.
No.
This is purely about my sparkly diamond
Yeah,
suit.
if you can afford both, then like by all means. But I need fireworks at when we say I do. Okay.
When I told him that I'm not giving up on that goal, he kind of went back on his ultimatum. But then a week, oh, shocker. But then a week later is when he brought it up again, hence my post. So yes, he did ask me to give up being a vet. He told me that I wasn't acting like a lady, that as a woman, my purpose is to be a mom and a wife, and that I have no idea how the world works.
If you go to vet school, you're going to have to assist a cow with being birthed or something. You got to stick your hand all the way up in a cow.
That's not womanly, to be elbow deep in a cow's uterus.
No, it is not. I can't marry someone like that.
Another comment asked why I would have to move back to my hometown. I moved out of my hometown and have been in a long-distance relationship ever since. My ex used to tell me that his plan was to move to the new city I live in now, but he randomly decided against that. He was not willing to budge and told me many times that I would have to move back in order for us to be together. This was another point of contention for us. And by the way, a point with no contention is that you can listen to full episodes with stories like this on your favorite podcast platforms like iHeartRadio, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Just search OK Storytime wherever you listen to podcasts, and you've got podcasts for days, for weeks, for months. And there's a little bit of story left here. I know what's not working, and it's this relationship. That's crazy.
That's right. You can say that again, girl.
So he wants a traditional wife.
He wants a
This guy
traditional wife that he
sucks.
could carry around in his little pocket,
This guy
and he can bring out
sucks.
whenever he wants to have her take care of the children.
He's a big old stinker.
Yeah. You're going to find a man that, is excited to have that family with you and is determined to make it work with you and your job and your ambitions.
Many people were wondering if he had the resources to take care of a stay-at-home mother and a big family. The short answer is maybe for a while. He hasn't had a stable job for months, but he has a good amount of money in assets. It would be okay for the short term, but definitely would not provide the life that he or I have expressed that we would want. I left all of this information out because I wanted to hear people's advice at face value, but I recognize that all of this is pretty important information. I'm not sure if I'm missing any other important questions, so I'm open to answering more if needed, but I think at this point the case is pretty cut and dry. He and I are broken up. I've come to the conclusion that even if I did everything he wanted me to do, he would still find something to put me down for and end up leaving me anyways. It sucks, but I guess I'll just focus on becoming a vet, and the whole family thing will hopefully come when it's meant to. Thanks to you guys again for your comments. I received such great advice, and I appreciate what everyone said so much. And we've got more comments. Comment number 1. Man has no job and wants a stay-at-home wife? I don't think he knows how it works. Comment 2. Why is it that the guys who seem to want a traditional wife the most are the least prepared to fill the role of a traditional husband? No steady job or a low-paying job that can in no way support the size family they want. They usually can't even support themselves. OP says it's because they are mediocre that they want a traditional wife. These men are losers, and they don't have the intelligence, perseverance, or the hygiene to make themselves better. Therefore, the shortcut to feeling better about themselves is to latch themselves onto a system where they are above women by default. That way, they don't need to do any self-improvement. They can just bask in the luck of their birth.
That's actually a really well put sentence right there. That's very true.
It's similar to how diddlers gravitate towards religion because the system protects them and accords them instant authority instead of actually working to prove they are deserving of it.
Huh?
Comment 3 says, I'm breaking up with you because you're too ambitious for me. Her answer should have been, oh, that works for me because you're not ambitious enough for me.
Yeah.
Boom!
Oh, I feel like that's a more common thing that I've heard of people breaking up because like one person isn't as ambitious as the other and they're like boring. Pretty much.
Boring, you are boring. I was thinking that from the beginning, but to find in her second post that he doesn't even have a job right now was just the cherry on top of this Sunday. And that is the end of that story.
Boom. End of the story. End of the relationship. I've been dating 3 different people without even knowing it.
I think we need to up our situational awareness.
I don't know where to begin. So everything may sound just as confusing as I feel right now. A few months ago, I started seeing a guy I met through my new job. We don't work together. We connected in an incredible way. We started out simply talking for 1 or 2 hours a day after work by video call since we were both working remotely. And almost every Saturday, we would go out to do something together. Normal dates. By the way, this comes from Great Emphasis 4393. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. And I'm Angie.
I'm Dakota.
I'm Carly.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We just know what we would do in these situations. So let us know what you would do in the comments. So, OP continues. Then he finally got a job he had been trying to get, but it was in person, so we stopped the video calls. He began calling me as soon as he left work, and we would talk the whole way until he got home, made something to eat, and so on. I'm talking about 4 hours or more of conversation every day, Monday to Friday. We stopped going out so much on Saturdays. At first, I thought it was because he was tired and adjusting to working in person again after such a long time working from home. But now I think he noticed that I was already becoming suspicious of something. I could say I'm very perceptive, but I think I'm simply not stupid. From the beginning, I noticed a few things. Sometimes he seemed very confident, and at other times he seemed shy. Our conversation topics were very varied, ranging from very superficial, everyday things like preferring to cook with garlic or onions to deep and philosophical subjects. We have literally discussed the theories of some philosophers.
I think garlic is pretty philosophical.
And I'm not saying a person can't be interested in a wide range of topics, because I am, but it simply didn't feel like I was talking to the same person. What caught my attention the most was his choice of words. He wrote differently, spoke differently. For example, one day he would use abbreviations, the next day he wouldn't, or he would abbreviate words in a different way. The same when speaking. It's hard to explain, but imagine a friend who has just learned the meaning of a word and starts using it in a conversation. You can tell it's not a word that he would normally use and that it's something new. That's the feeling, only on a much larger scale. At first, I didn't think about multiple personalities, obviously. In fact, until he told me that he had dissociative identity disorder, that hadn't crossed my mind at all. I just felt that something was wrong. So yesterday, I decided to ask him directly. We don't go to each other's homes. In the title, I said he was my boyfriend just to keep it short, but we've known each other for 4 months. I don't know where he lives, and he doesn't know where I live either. In any case, even if I did go to his place, I think I would still have preferred to have this conversation somewhere neutral. I chose a cafe that had some more secluded tables in case the conversation turned to very personal topics. I'm very straightforward, and I hate when things are sugar-coated, so as soon as we sat down, I simply said, "Explain." I didn't give any more context because I didn't have any.
Wow.
I just needed him to explain, and I knew he would know what I was talking about.
That's good technique. You just sit down. Explain.
Explain. You bring your own lamp too, table lamp, and you turn that on and shove it in their face.
Yeah.
Explain.
Explain. And you sound like an old, explain yourself.
So he must have been expecting it because he didn't even pick up the menu when we sat down. As a positive point, I can say that he answered directly, saying that he did have dissociative identity disorder. As you can imagine, I started asking a lot of questions because I had and still have many doubts. As a negative point, I can say that he left. Not physically, but the him who had been talking to me initially left internally. I saw his expression change, and it was the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life. I get chills just remembering it. It was frankly frightening. I was in shock, not knowing whether to run away or say something. The first thing the new him did was take out a small green notebook that he always carries with him and flip through the pages. Then he said he would need some context and asked what we were talking about. I told him that he had told me about the disorder and that I was asking questions. And he completed it by saying that the coward had run away. Whoa, this is freaky.
Yeah, this is a little, I mean, it's a little intense.
Yeah.
That's intense.
That's intense. Because I know it's like a real thing, but I'm sure even if you're being super chill with it and accepting of it and everything, I'm sure it's still like pretty freaky to see happening in front of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially like with those words too, where you like forgot everything from before.
Yeah, that's pretty gnarly.
Because I thought that that's not quite what it was. Like, don't you not just forget everything that just happened? Like, you still remember what happened.
I mean, I don't really know that much.
I'm
I'm sure there's like a spectrum of how that. But
I also am totally. All the information I have is based on movies, so
yeah, the movie Split.
Yeah, well,
yeah, which
I never
apparently
watched that one, but
I don't think that one's hyper accurate all the time.
Yeah,
but yeah. Hopefully
anyway,
he doesn't turn into a monster.
Yeah, the coward had run away. Spooky ooky. After the initial shock and after that comment, I have to admit that really irritated me. I know this isn't a normal situation, but he left me talking to myself, walked away in the middle of the conversation, and we weren't even arguing. I was just asking questions. Anyway, the conversation continued with the new him. It became clear that I was talking to the more self-confident version of him. He was relaxed, as if everything were normal. He said he was hungry and that he preferred to answer my questions while eating. In short, I felt a bit stupid for not thinking about multiple personalities before, but now it all seems so obvious. I repeated the questions I had asked and that he hadn't answered.
I don't think you should feel stupid for not considering multiple personalities.
Yeah, a pretty rare, like, mental health disorder, right?
Yeah.
I asked many questions. I won't remember all of them, but I'll mention the ones that I think are most important. I asked about how many personalities he had, and he said he had 5 diagnosed. Then I asked about specific situations in which I had noticed the changes so I could identify who was who. Apparently, over these past months, I've had contact with 3 personalities. I called the main one Gareth because it's the first letter of his name. He suggested calling him C for the coward, but I found that offensive. The one who usually talks to me about philosophical topics, I called Paul. And the one who took over to answer my questions, I called Kevin because he said he was the one who kissed me, which was the only physical contact we've had so far. I asked about the other 2 that I don't know, but he didn't want to talk about them, and I didn't push it. I asked whether they communicate internally, and I felt very stupid asking that, and he said no, that they don't know what the others do and don't remember anything. But they've developed a system, which is the notebook he carries everywhere. They write down what they think is important so that if another one takes over, they're sort of up to date. Interesting. He also said he hardly has any triggers and that very few things cause the switching. He said he's a functional man, he lives alone, works, and so on. Some of the questions I asked seemed to have offended him a bit, such as whether he takes medication and what kind of treatment he has for this. Overall, I think the night ended on good terms, even though everything was a bit strange. But he hasn't spoken to me since. He hasn't sent me any messages, and I don't know whether he'll call me tomorrow when he leaves work, like he always does. this is the situation I'm in now. I like him, but we don't have a relationship that's lasted for years. And I think that if I'm going to end things, I better do it now before I get more emotionally involved. On the other hand, I wonder whether this is really a reason to end things between us. I imagine it's similar to being with someone who has a disability. I don't know, because I'm not part of that world, but those people also have relationships, get married, and start families. Am I being prejudiced? I can't deny that I'm worried about my safety. I spent today researching this and found out that DID is caused by some kind of trauma. Could one of his personalities be dangerous or violent? But then again, anyone could be. He didn't want to talk about the other two, but that may simply be because it's something very personal. I also don't tell him many things, considering that we don't yet have the level of intimacy needed to get into that. I even thought about asking him to give me a report from his psychologist with basic information about each personality so I'd know what I'd be dealing with, but that feels extremely invasive. Yeah, I feel like getting like a official report from your psychologist would be a little much, but you can ask him about each one.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a little bit too much for me to bite off. You know? I just that's just how I feel.
Yeah.
And I think if the question of, are you like medicating this at all, was met with like sort of like hostility, goodbye.
Yeah, I could understand if it's kind of like, oh, well, do you think it should, like, do you think it's a like, I can understand being defensive of that, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I would want to know that too, if they would be like medicated or something, of how you're treating it.
Yeah.
If anything, to just get to know you a little more.
Yeah, you know.
I'm very confused, and I really need an external point of view. Has anyone ever been in a similar situation or dealt with someone with DID, even if not romantically? Are these just prejudices, or is my fear valid? Should I break up with him? We do have an update. I'm grateful for all the replies I've received, even the most absurd ones. Some raised new questions for me, and others simply shocked me. I'll clear up a few doubts from the comments before talking about what happened today. First of all, he didn't ignore me. I said he hadn't spoken to me since Saturday, but I also didn't message him. In other words, there was no conversation because neither of us initiated one. As for him being upset about the question regarding medication, he didn't become aggressive or irritated. It simply seemed like a sensitive topic, and he appeared slightly offended. I think anyone would feel that way, and his reaction seemed completely normal to me. That leads me to the questions about whether he receives any kind of treatment. Yes, when I asked about the medication, he said he doesn't take anything, but he does therapy twice a week. Regarding the switches being constant and whether he's actually functional with this, I don't think the switching is that frequent. As far as I can tell, I spoke to Paul once and to Kevin twice. The rest of the time, I interacted only with Gareth. I noticed it more because the differences were very striking, not because it happened often. I'm not in contact with him all day, only for a few hours a day, so I really can't say whether he switches throughout the day. I believe he doesn't because, as I said, he lives alone and works. He likes cooking, and I don't see how it would be very feasible to follow a recipe if they forget things when they switch. I don't feel uncomfortable with him or with the situation. I simply don't understand it. I would have the same reaction if he told me he was missing a leg or had an autoimmune disease or anything else that was different and outside of what's normal for me. I would have many questions and would wonder whether it's something I should worry about and what I should take into consideration. In short, I have doubts, not fear. About me not knowing much about him and about our dates. Yes, I don't know where he lives, and no, I don't know any of his family members or friends, but he doesn't know mine either, nor does he know where I live. In other words, we're on equal footing. I do know people from his previous workplace. We were introduced, so he isn't a complete stranger. We've gone out almost every Saturday over the past 4 months. He didn't suddenly stop wanting to go out, but he stopped suggesting plans. Before, he was the one excited about making plans, and in the past month, I was the one proposing them. My assumption is that either he was very tired from working in person and simply didn't want to leave the house in his free time, or he had already noticed that I was finding something strange and wanted to avoid being more exposed. As for him hating himself or having issues with his personalities, I can't really say. From my perspective, if he has a personality that only appears in tense situations and has to solve the problems he gets himself into, I think I'd be irritated too. Or maybe he was just annoyed because there was no information in the notebook. The impression I get is that because he has DID, Anything he does is seen in a negative light, even things that are perfectly normal. I see him as an intelligent, independent man with plans for the future. He has a degree, which I imagine must have been difficult to achieve given his condition, and it also explains why he's so reluctant to do a master's degree, even though he says it would be good for his career, and he has a job he enjoys. The fact that he has a disability only makes me think that he must have faced more difficulties to get to where he is now. He says he's functional, and I believe him, especially based on what I know about him so far. He seems to have found a way to function, and I find that admirable. He uses the notebook a lot. I'd already noticed it during our video calls. Sometimes he would stop talking to write things down. I thought it was just like a notepad where he wrote things he remembered at the moment so he wouldn't forget them again, something he had to do or buy, for example. But this shows that he takes seriously what must have been suggested by his psychologist. Some new questions that came up for me from the comments were about whether he had reached some kind of internal consensus about me. Could he have personalities that don't like me? Until now, I had been seeing him as one person, just split, but still one. But this raises the question of whether I should treat them as separate people. Could one personality be interested in someone else and cheat on me? I know I overthink, but that's how my brain works. I see one thing and think of 30 possibilities, both positive and negative. Now, the actual update. He didn't talk to me at all today, and neither did I. But at the same time he usually calls me, he sent me a message asking whether he could call. It was strange at first, as if we had seen something very embarrassing about each other and didn't know how to act. There were long periods of silence on both sides. He apologized for not staying to answer my questions. I tried to understand what had caused the trigger, because I wasn't irritated and I hadn't been demanding or aggressive. I was simply trying to understand, and I had doubts. But he didn't want to go too deeply into it, and I didn't push. I accepted all of it's complicated responses as him not wanting to talk about it, and I respected that. Little by little, our conversation became normal again, like our previous conversations. The truth is that I didn't want DID to be the main topic. I wanted us to go back to our routine, and that's what happened. He's getting a few friends together at his place on Friday and invited me. He told me to bring some friends as well, so I'd feel safer. Maybe now that I know the secret, he feels safe enough to be more open. I'm going. I've already asked a friend to come with me. As for whether I'll break up with him or not, I still haven't decided. I don't think I have enough information to make that decision yet. There are enough good things in our relationship to make me feel I need to take my time to think through it. Maybe I should give you a few examples so you can better understand the position I'm in. We love examples over here.
I do love a good little example.
I have a lot of responsibilities at work and I manage a large team. There are weeks when I barely have anything to do. The team is running like a perfectly tuned machine. And then there are a few weeks when it feels like no one is working or there's simply too much demand for the team to handle, and I have an overwhelming amount to do. I barely sleep and barely eat. To give you an idea, I have someone who cooks for me. She brings me a plate of food while I'm working and has been instructed to come back from time to time to check whether I'm eating, to remind me to finish my meal because I get so focused on work that I forget. She takes the plate away when the food gets cold, reheats it, and brings it back to me until I finish eating. Wow, that sounds like if you can afford that, dude, that sounds like a great thing to have.
Yeah.
In your life.
A designated reheater.
Yeah. You're going to make sure I don't get too distracted to eat. I need that for sure. And on the days she doesn't work, during these very busy periods, I don't eat anything all day and only eat when I finish work, around 5 to 6 p.m. And that's the only meal I have. That said, it's obvious that our video calls coincided with those periods. And while he, in every call, was always very well presented, I don't know whether because he got ready for them or simply because his job involved a lot of meetings, many times I wasn't. Imagine someone who has slept for 4 hours for several days in a row, got out of bed straight to sit in front of the computer, worked all day, and barely eaten. In many of those calls, I was disheveled, hadn't even had time to wash my face, and had just stopped working to go and eat, looking and feeling like a zombie. And you could look and feel like a very beautiful lady if you listen to full episodes of stories just like this one on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, whatever your favorite podcast platform is. Just search OK Storytime.
Yeah, got you with the old switcheroo.
A very beautiful lady. Very beautiful lady.
Very beautiful lady. If you go on. I'm just gonna say that every time. By the way, you can feel like a very beautiful lady.
A very beautiful lady. Even if you're a man, even if you are not a woman.
Yeah.
You'd be a very beautiful lady. There you go.
I think my final thought on this would be like kind of exactly what I've already said.
Yeah.
That like, if this was just like someone like a coworker, like a friend, this is a friendship. It's like, okay, I
Yeah.
can do this. That's okay. But in like a relationship, it's just too much for me.
Yeah.
And
Person to person. I feel like that's okay.
yeah, not to say that like anyone with this guy's condition at the level it's at like can't date,
Totally.
but like it would require all of that would have to be required up front, which is probably really hard to do,
Yeah.
but you can't be talking to me for like 4 months and have never told me that you have legitimate split personalities. Cuz
Yeah.
that's like you're leaving too much off the table
Yeah.
with that,
I get you.
you know?
You'd want it up front.
I would have needed it up front
Yeah.
if I was going to make a run at it.
I get you. I get you. There is a little bit more to the story, though. The first time, I apologized and explained that I had been very busy and simply didn't have the energy to get ready for our call. He didn't mind and didn't run away from my mad-looking appearance, and that was right at the beginning. In short, I bring things to the table, too, and I think we both need to decide whether we can handle each other's baggage. I told him today that I will probably be prejudiced, disrespectful, and unintentionally touch on sensitive topics with my questions and fears. And I asked whether he's willing to deal with that. I don't think it's very pleasant to deal with someone who doesn't know what they're doing.
Dude, honestly though, part of me is a little suspicious that that's not
that he's making it up or something? Whoa. I get you.
just a little sprinkle of suspicion there.
I mean,
Just because it's like when you're like trying to get more into it, be like, yeah. So what's exactly? It's complicated. Well, that's a great way to not explain something you can't explain,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
If you were to
You
not
don't know. Sure.
be telling the truth, however, he could be.
I'm sure someone's faked it. I'm sure there have been people who have faked
Didn't
that.
Trisha
disability.
Paytas fake it a couple years ago?
Did she?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Probably.
But it would be a really hard thing to fake convincingly. To be
Yeah.
clear.
He was doing it so like subtly.
I don't think he would have gone through all that trouble of carrying a notebook and stuff and like
True.
really, really working on it to make it work.
I don't know.
That's
This
fair.
could have just been like a quirky high school lie that spun out of control for this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
But-
get you.
It also might not. But I don't know. I think at the end of the day, that's the thing that's making me be like, I don't think that this would work because it's like there's not 100% like upfrontness and openness with like
Yeah.
what it is and how it impacts him and like what affects him like more like there's too much in the dark.
I get you. A lot going on in this one. This is the long update I have for now. I may come back on Saturday or Sunday if I have anything to add after Friday's get together. I don't think anything relevant will happen before that. In any case, I appreciate any new advice, especially from those who seem to have real experience with people with DID and on whether or not to treat the personalities as separate people. And that's the end of that story. I mean, I think that was a really good thing that she said to him where she was like, I'm probably going to end up being prejudiced or insensitive on accident because I like don't know about it or when I'm trying to ask questions about it. Are you willing to deal with that? Like, it's not on purpose. I'm just don't know. So yeah, because that is something that he's gonna have to choose too. He might not.
Yeah.
He wouldn't want to be with someone that doesn't understand it or is fearful of it.
Yeah.
So